Hollywood elites are rewriting the narrative on national safety. Mark Ruffalo claims white Americans are the primary driver of crime. But does the data sustain this accusation? We investigate. Mark Ruffalo, a figure celebrated for his cinematic roles, recently took to a different stage during the No Kings Mobilization kickoff call. While his stated objective was to advocate for undocumented individuals facing deportation, he quickly pivoted to a broader cultural attack. In a calculated attempt to deflect from the current border crisis, Ruffalo explicitly stated that the majority of crimes in this nation are committed by white citizens. This was not a casual observation. It was a strategic deployment of identity politics, intended to dismantle the arguments of those concerned about rising insecurity in sanctuary jurisdictions. By placing the blame on the demographic majority, he aims to neutralize the critique of immigration policies. But this rhetoric relies on a superficial reading of the situation, one that ignores the critical context of population density and crime rate disparities. To understand the truth, we must turn to the concrete numbers provided by the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. When we examine the raw arrest data for a standard reporting year like 2019, the total number of arrests was approximately 6.8 million. Of these, roughly 4.7 million were indeed categorized as white. This constitutes about 69% of total arrests, which statistically tracks with the white population making up roughly 60 to 70% of the country, depending on census definitions. However, Ruffalo's broad claim collapses when we look at violent offenses specifically. In the category of homicide offenses, the data shifts dramatically. In that same data set, Black or African American offenders, who represent approximately 13% of the population, accounted for roughly 51% of known offenders. White offenders accounted for roughly 45%. This statistical disparity highlights the necessity of per capita analysis. Simply citing raw totals, without adjusting for population size, creates a distorted picture of public safety risks. Script here. The reaction to Ruffalo's statement was immediate, and it was clinically precise. As the clip circulated via accounts like Leading Report, garnering hundreds of thousands of views, the public began to dismantle the actor's logic. This was not merely political disagreement, it was a rejection of mathematical illiteracy. Commentators on social media platforms quickly pointed out what they termed a per capita moment. They argued that focusing on the raw volume of crime committed by the majority population, while ignoring the disproportionate rates of violent offending in other demographics, is a deliberate obfuscation of reality. Critics characterize this as a luxury belief, a viewpoint held by those residing in secure, gated communities, far removed from the areas where these statistics translate into real-world tragedy. The sentiment is clear. Americans are tired of being lectured on morality by figures who refuse to acknowledge the hard data. This incident underscores a profound failure in the dialogue between Hollywood elites and the American working class. When activists like Ruffalo speak, they often do so to signal virtue to their peers, rather than to address the systemic failures affecting our streets. By framing the discussion of crime as a racial indictment of the majority, he deepens the polarization of the country. It suggests a worldview where the narrative is prioritized over the safety of the citizenry. As we move deeper into this political cycle, this disconnect will likely widen. The No Kings mobilization intended to rally support, but instead it has exposed the fragility of their arguments when tested against the bedrock of statistical fact. The American people are demanding accountability and truth, not scripted deflection from those in the ivory tower.